Today, the section of ethics. So, let's start with the universal invocation. Vibrant in every atom. Of embracing all environments. Self of one with the peace, therefore, one with the celestial goodness. Today's speaker is Lewis Pandey, sir. So, he's the president of UP Federation, and he has given so many lectures and he has conducted many camps and he has written books as well. Pandey, over to you.
Yes. Okay. Pragya, thank you very much. Before I start, good morning to all of you, dear brothers and sisters. And I extend my warm, hearty greetings to all of you. And also best wishes for the Holy Festival, which is being celebrated from today and till tomorrow. So in this series of talks, we have been discussing on ethics. And so far we have covered the object, basis of ethics, then relations between morality, emotions, then classification of virtues and vices, then virtues and vices in relation to superiors, in relation to equals. Today we will cover the virtues and vices in relation to persons who are inferior to us or junior to us, and also if time permits, then interaction between vices and virtues. As I had said in my earlier talk, that ethics is the science of morality, and morality the art of the ethics. And also the ethics are the laws of nature, rather universal ethics are the laws of nature which are impressed by the absolute or Parabrahman itself of the nature, so that the whole manifested universe functions in orderly manner. And since man has been made self-conscious, it becomes his more responsibility. There is greater responsibility on his shoulder that he or she follows these natural laws, so that not only he or she himself, but whole society and whole manifestation functions in orderly manner. So coming to the specific subject of today, virtues and vices in relation to inferiors. I think I'm audible. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. On the great ladder of evolution, each of us has some who are above us, to whom we look up for guidance, for help, and towards whom we are loved as a form of reverence. Then there are some who are on the level with us, that equal, towards whom our love has the aspect of affection. To the seniors, we have got reverence. To the equals, we have got affection or friendship. These we have considered earlier. Now we have to think of our duties towards those who are below us on the ladder of evolution, those who looked up to us for guidance and help, as we look to our elders as seniors, and to consider what form our love should take towards those who are our angers, whether as egos or in the social hierarchy. Love towards these is benevolence. Love towards seniors is reverence, towards equals is affection, and towards our juniors is benevolence, well-wishing and well-doing. The gracious, kindly aspect seen at its highest as above by the mother to the child. To regard all with the tenderness which the mother feels for her firstborn son or daughter is the ideal at which we should aim. Now, here the ideal is given the affection of the mother to the firstborn. That affection we should try to manifest towards all who are junior to us. That is the ideal, and realized to the full only by the elder brothers of our race, the masters of compassion and wisdom. It is nonetheless lovely heart state which all of us should seek to make our own, where the heart is full of love, affection towards the juniors. The strength is only lovable when it shows itself as protection. It is understood that persons who are junior and inferior to us, they are weaker to us, either in intelligence, in physical strength, or in knowledge, in material position. So they need some protection, as we needed protection from our elders. So protection is an important part of benevolence. Greatness is only admirable when it shows itself as patience and beneficence. Those who know the unity of the self must ever be seeking to help to strengthen the manifestation of the self in those in whom the highest is more obscure than in himself. The highest, that means Parabrahma or Paramatma principle, is manifesting in everyone, whether it's senior, junior, equals. But in the juniors, it is said it is more obscure, it is not manifesting fully. So our behavior or conduct, ethical conduct towards them should not only help them physically, morally, intellectually, but also it should aim at unfolding the divine principle among themselves quickly. A man's natural inferiors are those who are below him soul age. Soul age is different. A younger person in physical age may be senior to me in a soul age. And that is reflected in his more wisdom, more patience, more understanding. So a person, though maybe in a body of senior to me, but maybe younger in soul age, behavior, conduct, so that we have to realize. And then spiritual development, in intellectual attainment, in moral character. Those who are below him in social spirit. So there are two classes of people below us, inferior to us, in the soul age, and that means irrespective of physical age, and in the social hierarchy. For example, our servants, our juniors in hierarchy. And these people, they are physically younger than ourselves, like children's, youths, a superficial and transition inferiority. The universal manifestation of the benevolence is the compassion. Now, benevolence manifests universally as compassion, the tender pitifulness. That is why in Voice of Silence, compassion has been called law of laws. Which associates itself by sympathy with the weakness of the inferior and seeks to share with him its own more highly developed qualities according to the need of the occasion. By this sharing, since love is ever attraction, the superior seeks to raise the inferior towards himself, bringing about a condition of lesser inequality. The whole purpose of our ethical conduct is to reduce the inequality with the juniors, inequality as compared to us. And to this end, he draws the inferior to him by gentle words, softness of manner, smile, friendly gesture, by everything which may remove any sense of fear arising in the lesser, in the presence of one greater than himself. His strength is also as often used to oppress that fear arises instinctively in the weak when they find themselves in face of it. This must ever be remembered when fear is shown, it must be met with additional softness and gentleness, not with haste or impatience. The more timid the inferior, the more gentle and gesture, the more indicative of the patience his movements are required. This patience and sweetness reassure the shy and the timid and awaken in them the confidence and the trust so that they willingly draw near and lean on the stronger instead of shrinking from them. In a strong and well meaning but ungentle natures, timidity as implying suspicion of their intentions is apt to generate harshness and resentment, vices which spring from the hate emotion, and these, in presence of the timid inferior, readily slide into the cruelty and brutality. So here, both aspects of the ethical conduct towards inferior are being brought out. And as we know that in Master's letter, that primary emotions are love and hate. So here, hate is also being touched upon. Now, benevolence, where the inferior is threatened, shows itself as patience, protection. If we find some person inferior to us is being threatened by someone else, then it needs protection. And protection is noblest exercise of the strength in presence of weakness. Protection, the quality of protection has been emphasized in every scripture by all the great teachers. Even the protection to the so-called criminals. Protection is a kingly virtue, and by whomsoever exercised ennobles the character and stamps on it the heroic type. Heroism is indeed the virtue yoke where the weak are protected at the peril of the protector's life, prosperity, or good name. Not only the warrior, the patriot, the martyr are heroic, not only the miners who face death as they cover their comrades in the pit, the fireman who plunges into the flames to rescue the helpless, the swimmers who risk their own drowning to save the perishing, sinking beneath the floods. Heroes are also the fathers who toil ceaselessly to protect their families from want, losing health, and even life in their incessant labor. Heroes are the mothers who sacrifice themselves day and night to protect and cherish their little ones. Though life be shortened by the ceaseless strain, heroes are the doctors and nurses who risk their lives in unwearied tending of the stricken and face infection fearlessly in the fierce strife against death. This we saw in Corona, how the doctors and nurses rose to the occasions and served the society at the risk of their infection to themselves. All these are exercising in a heroic degree the royal virtue of protection, humble and limited as maybe their sphere, and they ignore simplicity, but trying to do worthily their duty to these dependent on them. Benevolence, where the inferior is in want, shows itself as liberality and charity. They endure to support that of which is in the need. The bestowal of help in whatever form should be rendered ungrudgingly and graciously as an opportunity of helping gladly seized, not as a response unwillingly yielded to unwelcome importance. Here it is important that we must help our possessions or materials to the needy persons. And also, as Blonsky says in the key to philosophy, that even the charity or dana should be given personally as far as possible, so as to evoke the spiritual emotion in the person to whom we give, and also help in the spiritual advancement that person. Moreover, the exercise of these virtues should be directed by wisdom, viveka, so that the help given may really aid and not injure the recipient. Sometimes it so happens that our good intentions help somebody, but without applying viveka, or rather under emotions, that type of help not only becomes useless, but also it harms the person whom we help. So that's why the even help given to somebody needy needs some sort of discrimination to suit that person's need. The bestowal of a boon asked for by an unworthy suppliant may encourage him in his store or in some other form of vice. There are only Puranic stories in our Hindu tradition that some god gave some boon just when the devotee asked, without realizing whether that boon will be misused or used, and that person who got the boon tried to misuse, and then that god has to make a lot of effort to check or to destroy him. So that is a symbolic description. Here it is the same thing, giving help to somebody that needs some viveka. The charity should be naturally selfless. Then courtesy is never more gracious than when shown by the superior to the inferior. The courtesy is required when we are dealing with the juniors, particularly, or by the strong to the weak, and consideration granted when it cannot be demanded is more beautiful than when yielded to an equal or a superior. The idea is put very aptly and practically in a list of people for whom ways should be made on meeting them. Ways should be made on meeting them by the inclusion of a sick person, one who carries a burden, women. That means when we are crossing path with people, we should see the persons who are weaker than us, a person who is carrying load, an elderly person, a sick person, a woman. We should give way to such persons on meeting them. The weakness has to claim a tenderness, and such courtesy lends to the last finish of noble manners. These virtues are the general expression of love towards inferiors, to the special class of inferiors noted above. Benevolence shows itself in other ways also. To those below a man in evolution, he should have shown his helplessness, readily sharing with them his superior knowledge and willingly teaching them anything which they are willing to learn. That persons who are below us in evolution, we should try to guide them, teach them softly and very tenderly. Where there is superiority of age or social grade, tact and discretion are especially needed in such work. But love finds its way without giving offense, and the quite silent influence A high example does more to teach and lift than formal precept and instruction. In fact, one of the sage has said that your ethical conduct or a whole spiritual evolution is judged by your behavior towards your servant, how we are teaching our servant. The superior should therefore not isolate themselves from the inferior in evolution, but should associate with them with the intention of helping them in swifter progress so that they may raise all with their own advance. Benevolence towards those of lower social grade should lead, in addition to the aforesaid general manifestations, to actively endure to ameliorate their condition, that is, to the virtue of beneficence, to support and spread education, whether by personal work or by financial aiding of the well-considered schemes, to apprentice boys and girls to reliable persons for learning of useful handicrafts, to give a lad a start in life. These and similar acts are examples of beneficence. Beneficence is a virtue with the higher owed to the lower. We have got a debt to the lower, and we have to express our beneficence in concrete terms. And its deterioration or disappearance is a menace to the national and societal welfare. Carefully thought out schemes of social improvement cannot emanate from the poor and the ignorant. That's why we see in history most of the people who are having great social reformers, they have come from the actually affluent class, because poor people cannot afford. They are busy in their day-to-day and chorus to just fill their basic need. So, but the persons from the affluent class who feel sensitive to all these, they take up the things to reform, to improve, and in turn, they also make sacrifice for the society. That's why, while dealing with duty, the key to Brodsky says, we know if we do not pay our debt in this life towards weaker people, towards poorer people, then in next life we may bankrupt morally. So there is a debt we have to pay to those who are weaker and poorer than us in the societal structure. The voluntary self-sacrifice of the higher to the lower in order to relieve and raise them in the reflection of life of all the world's saviors, the noblest demonstration of God in man. Employers of labor, heads of households, and all who hold positions which give them authority over others should see to it that their conduct exemplifies the virtues which humanize and glorify their relations with those dependent on them. When industry was individual rather than collective, the human factor was obvious and could not be disregarded by any good person. But presently, there is a growing danger lest those who employ thousands of men should entirely forget, as some indeed already do, that there is any human relation between themselves and their employees, that they have any duty towards them save that of the payment of their wages, and hence once more is a menace to the state due to the absence of the love relations, which is the one social bond. Again, in overgrown household of very wealthy, where servants are multiplied, not for use, but for only display of the social status, the absence of true human relation between master and the mistress on the one side and servants on the other side, the relation of elder and younger, in which guidance, counsel, order, discipline are given by the one, and industry, diligence, and intelligent obedience are rendered by the other. the one learning justice, impartiality, and wise administration, the other rising in the character and knowledge by obedience and service. The absence of this relation is rendering the higher childish, flippant, and irresponsible, and lower ideal, arrogance, and luxurious. So, by such conduct towards our juniors in social order, we not only help them materially, but we help them to evolve spiritually and intellectually. Benevolence towards those who are younger in physical age, towards children and youth, the extension towards all children of the tenderness which is instinctive in the parents for their own little ones, is the last of the relation between the superiors and inferiors, in which love means blessedness and hate means misery. To the heart full of love, the weakness and helplessness of the child appeal with irresistible force, and the tenderness flows out to meet every demand that can be made upon it. Harshness, injustice, oppression, cruelty, in all its form, includes sarcasm and ridicule. Cowardly weapons, when used by the strong against the weak, are all ugly progeny of the hate. Emotion in relation between superior and inferior. Hate to the inferior appears as scorn, the very antithesis of benevolence. The weakness that appeals to the love and answered by benevolence appeals to the hate and is answered by scorn. Hate looking downwards in its inner attitude is pride. In its outer manifestation, it is scorn. To a man dominated by hate, the inferior is but a tool, a prey to be subjugated and used for his own advantage. Contempt, arrogance, disdain, haughtiness, overbearance are all vices which have their roots in scorn. Alike into the state, into the family, these vices bring disunion and creating an inferior's falsehood, treachery, cowardice, revenge, bringing flattery. They lead to the disruption of the social and moral fabric and ties. In all the relations which exist in nations and families and societies, relations between superiors, equals, inferiors, love is the binding and hate the disruptive force. Right reason, which sees the unity of life, shapes love into all the virtues, which construct, strengthen, adorn all human communities, ensuring progress and gladdening life. Wrong reason, blinded to the unity of life and bewildered by the endless multiplicity of forms, lets hate burst out into all the vices which ruin the individual and destroy the community. Let the young then learn to understand the sweet fruit of love and bitter fruit of hate, and to know the virtue which spring from love and vices which spring from hate. So shall they in their manhood or womanhood know how to refuse the evil and to choose the good, and to become the builders, not the destroyers of happy homes and prosperous society and the nation. All these things have been emphasized in scriptures of various religions, and some of them I'll just share with you. In Manu Smriti, Manu Samhita, it is said in the scripture, way should be made for a man in a carriage for one who is above 90 years old. The person who is 90 years old, and if he's facing him, you must make way to that person. For a sick person also, for one who carries a burden, for a woman, a Sartka, a king, and a bridegroom, we should make. Compassion then again, in Mahabharata, It is said, compassion is the work of merits of the saints. Compassion never secures the blessing of the good. Then in Zoroastrian, there is a saying that be it known that the best king is he who is noble in glory, who sympathizing with the afflicting of others, makes the world happy and looks to the welfare of all, and particularly those who are weaker and inferior ones. Then Hebrew, he said, blessed is he that considereth the poor, the Lord will deliver him in time of need. Buddhism is, of course, the religion of the way compassion. And there it is said, the old sages, praised chastity and virtue, rectitude, mildness, penance, tenderness, compassion, and patience. Having discovered the ending of birth and death through kindness and compassion, I will teach the way, the only road. After having crossed the stream, I will teach others to cross as I have crossed. This is the Buddha or the Arhati saying. Then Christian religion, he says in Matthew's Gospel, give to him that asketh thee, and from him that would borrow of thee, turn thou not away. The person who asks us something, we should not turn from him. Mind not high things, but condensed to men of low estate, be not wise in your conceit. So Islamic tradition says you cannot attain to righteousness until you expend in alms of what you love. But what expend in alms that God knows. And give unto the orphans their prosperity, their property, and give them not the while in exchange for the good, and devour not their property to your own property. Verily that were the great sin. Verily God commanded justice, and the doing of good, and the giving into kindred what shall be necessary. And he forbiddeth wickedness and iniquity and oppression. So that way, these all religious texts do emphasize great on our conduct, not only towards the divine, towards society, but particularly to those who are weaker than us. Now, still some time, I will cover some portion of interaction between the virtues and vices. All the great teachers have proclaimed with one voice the duty of returning good for evil. Pass over the difficult crossings by wrath, by true and truth. Say the Samveda, our Samved says that we must pass untruth by truth, wrath by wrathlessness. Let him not be angry with the angry, spoken to harshly, let him speak softly. Thus said Manu in Manu Samhita. To the man that causelessly injures me, I will return the protection of my ungrudging love. The more evil comes from him, the more good shall flow from me. Overcome anger by not being angered, overcome evil by good, overcome avarice by liberality, overcome falsehood by truth. Hatred ceases not by hatred at any time, but hatred ceases by love. This is famous saying from Buddha himself. Love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, say the another great teacher, the Christ. There must be some deep reason hidden in the very nature of things why these great teachers are advising us to return hate by love, falsehood by truth, harshness by compassion, bad behavior towards by noble behavior toward that person. Why they are all saying. So all these great teachers were just not talking superficially. They were wise people and they knew the laws of nature. So they were just trying to teach us the laws of nature. That is a deep reason. That is ethical duty. That is the highest form of science of morality or ethical duty. In all ages, lovers of these superhuman teachers have obeyed their precepts out of devotion to their persons and have thereby reaped good results of love and peace. Uh, Ordinary observation of what is going on around us every day will readily convince the onlooker that when two ordinary people meet, one of whom is dominated at the moment by the strong emotion and the other of whom is neutral, the former arouses in the latter an emotion similar to a kind to him by which himself said, suppose I meet a person who is just smiling for no reason, at least to me, so immediately my reaction would be to smile at him. And similarly, if a person with a sorrowful mood comes to me, our reaction, automatic reaction will be to become sorrowful. So this is the interreaction happens at the astral level, at the feeling level. He is like sunshine, and we praise the persons who comes to smiling, saying that is sunshine. The mechanism of this simple enough. Man, because man is a spirit and matter, a life and a form. Hence, a change in his consciousness is always accompanied by vibrations in the matter composing his body, and vice versa. Vibrations in his body are increased by change in his consciousness. The vibrations which accompany a mood of joyousness in a man, felt even physically in the thrilling of his nerves, the quickened coursing of the blood in his veins, set up sympathetic vibration in the body of anyone who comes near him. And these in turn produce the corresponding mood of joy in the newcomer. Similarly, with which accompanied by a mood of grief. Hence, the influence exerted by one over the other, and the gladdening and the saddening by propinquity, by nearness, irrespective of personal cause or either joy or sorrow, in the one reflecting the neighbor's mood. That an emotion, good or evil, exhibited by one person evokes a similar emotion in another near at hand is the first general law of the interaction of the emotion. At emotion level, there is always interaction going on, and that's why we are affected by a person who just comes by his own mood. Our mood is affected, whether for good or bad. This is the first law, reaction interaction of the emotion. The second general law of the interaction of the emotion is that in exceptionally good or exceptionally bad men, dominated respectively by love or hate, the exhibition of wrong emotion provokes the opposite reaction. Right emotion or the exhibition of a right emotion provokes a corresponding wrong one. This is the second law, and that is very strange to hear that this is law. If a person is strongly affectionate and the person is strongly hateful, then the reaction from the other person will be maybe different. If I'm strongly affectionate and two, I'm showing affection, extreme affection towards somebody, there may be some person or occasion where that somebody, some person reacts in a hateful manner towards me. Or in a contrary, if a person is just strongly hateful to somebody, the other person returns the reaction in a loving manner. This is also seen in the worldly life. So this is also another law, where one person is very strong in particular virtue, other person is strong in opposite virtue, then this sort of things may happen. A man in a passion meets a neighbor and being angry, though not with him, speaks to him harshly. The neighbor fires up and gives a sharp answer, The first replies still more hotly. The second responds with added bitterness. In a few minutes, the quarrel is raging, all about nothing, and each goes off in a fit. Evil has been returned by evil, and a breach has been made difficult to bridge. Hatred causes hatred, ceases not by hatred. The man meets another neighbor and again speaks sharply, being in an even worse temper than before. The neighbor replies good naturedly, ignoring the other's black book. Despite himself, the first is soothed and his anger diminished. Presently, he is smiling and friendly and goes out, quiet and at peace. Good has been returned for evil, and the two hearts drawn nearer to each other, hatred ceases by love. The laws are here seen at work in everyday experience. In the first case, anger yoked anger, both men being at the mercy of their moods, and disruption followed. In the second case, the second man, either knowing the law or obeying the teaching, checked the natural response of anger to anger and deliberately met the anger with the opposite emotion, kindness. And this, in his turn, reacting on the first man, took it away and calmed his anger and gradually produced in him its own reflection, resulted mutual goodwill. The good man will ever seek thus to correct an evil by opposing good. He will meet pride with humility, perversity with patience, insincerity with sincerity, grasping with liberality, hypocrisy with candor. Such a man is a benediction whenever he goes, and he spreads around him peace and goodwill. Between equals, the laws work as described. Their action is modified between superiors and inferiors, corresponding rather than similar emotions being aroused, where a superior shows anger to an inferior, the latter, by reason of position or his weakness, cannot answer with open anger, but feels fear, revengefulness, impotent desire to injure. All emotions of the same type, but modified in expression by his own helplessness. Where inferior shows treachery, ingratitude, rebellion, the corresponding emotions evoked in the superior would be scorn, contempt, oppression. Hate will answer hate according to the general law, but the special form it takes grows out of mutual relation. So also where love is present on both sides, benevolence in superior arouses gratitude in the inferior, compassion yokes trust, patience yokes confidence, humility in the inferior yokes tenderness in the superior, feebleness yokes pity, incapacity yokes helplessness. Again, where a superior is dominated by the love emotion and meets manifestation of hate from his inferiors, whether in the coarser form of treachery and life or the subtle forms of suspicion, distrust, and timidity aroused in the lesser by the mere presence of the higher, such a superior will meet these forms of hate with the appropriate love, emotion, treachery by pardons, ingratitude by persistent kindness, suspicion by steady friendliness, and so on. Uh, as men learn that there is a science of morality, that its laws are as inviolable as all other natural laws, that the knowledge of these laws and their observance must inevitably increase human happiness and quicken human progress and evolution. They will surely, as in other departments of nature, learn the wisdom of obedience. Human intelligence ever accepts the inevitable. Even human selfishness soon ceases to fight against it and adapts itself to that it cannot change. Morality has suffered by having been regarded as arbitrary, as being of nature of man-made laws, the breaches of which might be pardoned and the penalties remitted. as it takes its place among science, and the beautiful change, lessons, and inviolability of its laws are seen and realized and appreciated, accepted, human nature will conform itself to that from which it cannot escape. With its ineradicable longing after happiness, it will accept the condition on which alone continued happiness is possible, and the precepts of the great teachers, recognized as a proclamation of an unbearable law of conduct, will establish the kingdom of heaven on earth. That's why one of the elder brothers says we must be kind to all, kind to animals, kind to the plants, kind to persons who are juniors, and more kind to those who do wrongs because they are below us in the evolutionary stage. They are not knowing the things, so we must be more kind towards them. Again, this point is emphasized in various scriptures. I will just quote before you some of these. Let him not be, or again, Manu Samhita says, let him not be angry again with the angry man, being harshly addressed, let him speak softly. He who is not angry with the angry, he is a physician unto both. The person who is not angry with angry, he is a right physician, like a medical person who is healing that vice of anger. He saveth himself as well as the others from great danger. Then a soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous word stir anger. This in Proverbs in the Old Testament. Then Zoroastrian says, while that striking and others injuring come back upon ourselves, and there is a fear of ourselves injuries and mischief being punished by justice, it is suitable for man to amend himself by habits of not injuring, that is, abstaining from injury or hurt. Man is not justified in injuring or hurting his fellow creature, even though himself being injured. Then Buddhist says, he who smites will be smitten, he who shows rancor will find rancor. So likewise, from reviling comes reviling, him with anger comes anger. He abused me, he reviled me, he beat me, he subdued me. He who keeps this in mind and who feels resentment will find no peace. He who bears ill will to those who bear evil can never become pure. But he who feels no evil pacifies them into who hate, as hatred brings misery to mankind, the sage knows no. A man who foolishly does me wrong or regards me as being or doing wrong, I will return to him the protection of my ungrudging love. The more evil comes from him, the more good shall go from me. The fragrance of these good actions always rebounding to me, the harm of his slanderous words returning to him. Then again, the Christian, again, Gospel of Matthew says, you have heard that it has been said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. Then Islam says kindly speech and pardon are better than almsgiving following the annoyance. He who forgiveth and reconcileth unto his enemy shall receive his reward from the God. For he loveth not the unjust doers, and whoso shall avenge himself after he hath injured, as to thee it is not lawful to punish them for it. Whoso beneath endures patiently and forgiveth, verily, this is the necessary work loved by God. So thank you very much. With this, I covered the portion intended for today. And if the next one or two talks, I may cover the divine ethics or spiritual ethics. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for sharing with us your thoughts on this very important topic. virtues and vices. Uh, I request all the delegates who are present, who, if you have any questions or queries or something to add, you can raise your hand or you can put them in the chat box and we will take it up. And sir, I have received one question via WhatsApp.
Yes.
If you can explain the difference between, uh, okay, all are virtues, but like pity, sympathy, empathy, and compassion.
So these are various levels: pity, sympathy, compassion. In pity and sympathy, as far as my understanding is that there is some duality. I'm pitying on somebody, that means I'm considering that person inferior to me. And same thing happens sympathy. But in case of empathy and compassion, that difference or duality ceases. I place myself in that position. I do not consider psychologically reality that I'm inferior to him. That's why I'm showing compassion. So that's why compassion and empathy are higher than the sympathy and pity. So pity and sympathy may be good for the average human being. The person who has advanced spiritually, for him the pity and empathy will convert into empathy and compassion. And that's why the Voice of Silence says compassion is the law of laws. And Buddha is described as compassionate, not as sympathetic, not as pity, but compassionate. Compassion is the highest form of, we'll say, pittiness and empathy, but there's no duality, oneness comes.
Okay.
My understanding.
Thank you. I think that was a very clear explanation, and I think the person have got their clarity on that. And Smita, if you have received any questions or if you would like to add anything, uh, one thing that you shared in the big, while the other delegates are thinking, I'm sharing this. If you can throw some more light, sir, the one sentence you quoted in the beginning, that ethics are the science of morality,
Yes,
and morality is the art of living ethics, and they are impressed. So
yes,
I think you basically they are impressed on the universal ethics I'm talking about, not the cultural and
yes,
local
person,
ethics. That they
yes,
are impressed by the universal mind on the fabric of matter.
yes. That's why Brodsky says critically, Parabrahman appears only as nature's law. It cannot manifest itself in other way, in any other way, like some form, some God, and all those things. And that's why that the ended meaning when Master says the Parabrahman or Shiva is a diffuse spiritual essence in the nature. So that diffuse essence, spiritual essence appears as a universal ethical law or laws of morality or laws of science of morality as an ethical principle, universal principle. So that's why these cannot be violated, changed by anybody, even the highest God, because that Parabrahman himself manifesting. That is made clear by the Brodsky, the secret doctrine. So that's why it is said, the science of ethics is science of morality. Science of morality means its soul, the nature, theory, aspect, and morality, the practice of that ethics, art of that. So this is there's a final difference in the word morality and ethics. Normally, a person considers morality and ethics same in common talking, but this is quite different. Ethics are the laws, and morality is the application of those laws. But as you
Okay.
rightly said, universal ethics and social different. Social morality will change
Yeah.
according to the society, according to the age, according to perception, either the same place or the same time. But universal ethics and morality will not change. They are beyond space and time. At least for the particular kalpa. In different kalpa, there will be different standard.
Okay. 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 Thank you. Thank you so much. And any of the delegates, if you want to ask any questions, sir, or anything to contribute, you are most welcome. And I have got one more query here, that it's okay to have these as uh, individuals discipline following virtue and vices, but like returning love for hate, are these things practical at the level of a country or a nation where there are continuous threats from other sources? Like, how can a nation like remove its armies or all those things?
No, these are good questions and they come often. Not only nowadays, in the days of Buddha and Christ also probably they must be raised this question. But as our teaching says, we must set highest ideal before us. Unless we set that ideal, we will not able to reach that ideal, despite the condition prevailing. And if you look around the history, the recent history or ancient history, even the worst situation, the person following the ideal qualities have appeared. After when Mahatma Gandhi in South Africa was thrown out of the first class compartment because the conductor, treated the colored person hatefully, then what was the reaction of Gandhi? Even at that time, he had not become Mahatma, but he had that inbuilt quality. He had no hate towards that hate person. And after that, what happened then? The great Satyagraha movement started, which not only brought India's freedom, but affected world. So that small reaction of Gandhi when he was thrown out of the first class compartment of railway in South Africa by a white person, that resulted in such a great movement, and which not only brought physical freedom of various countries, but influenced mind of so many people. Satyagraha Hinsa. This is a recent example because many of us have known Gandhi, at least when we were children, and we have read him. And same thing if you read the history of other great people, that has happened. Christ is the only living example everywhere. He always said this. Buddha.
So,
So every
so
time, even now, the people are there at the not like Gandhi, but at various levels are there. If you look around, there are people who are returning the evil by good, or who
yeah,
are just ignoring if some person does me evil, just ignoring. If somebody is just giving back bad words to me, I just ignore. And more important is that I should not have internal anything hate towards him, or rather trying to help him. That is why Master says, be kinder to those who are evil in your name, who are doing evil things in your. So when we talk about evil doers, whether nation or the society, we should also remember that by karma, we've been placed in that society. That's why one of our prime ministers said earlier prime minister about this Pakistan or where we went, that we cannot change. We have to have a neighbor. For example, your next door person. If you got a neighbor, bad neighbor, what do you do? You can change the house, of course, that is the option, but it's better to have bear him and feeling that some karma effect has placed him. A small example comes when you travel in a train and you are allotted two persons, strange allotted berth side by side. Other person starts talking loudly at about 11 o'clock night. My sleep gets disturbed. What do I do? So in my case, at least I personally experience, I mildly say, brother or sister, I think you should feel that my sleep is getting disturbed. So if a good person, he starts talking and stops talking or very small voice, that does. But if I just tell him and howl at him, why are you talking, why are you disturbing, what reaction I will expect? You can imagine.
yeah. But don't you think that to prevent such kind of actions or irresponsible actions by some of the people, the whole concept of law and order in a country, because law and order has been made, like criminal procedures code
Yes,
or
at certain levels, certain punishment is required according to law. That's why Blonsky also said, but in that case, we should not aim at harshest punishment. For example, every crime, the
yes,
law provides maximum and minimum. So we
yeah,
should not say immediately isko hang kar do, like that.
yes.
So that should not be there.
Capital punishment is not
Yes,
recommended. And
yes.
yeah,
So finally, the idea should be no punishment. But if it is said that if that person is going to harm others, then some punishment as per social laws, social norms has to be done.
so
But
instead of the concept of punishment, we should aim for the concept of like
reforming,
reformation, like rehabilitation kind of thing.
That's why all that the concept of reforming in jail and all those things has come. And I know one case personally, the person who was murdered, he got almost turned to saint after repenting in the
Yeah,
jail. And he
yes.
came to my house with Sandeep, and Sandeep introduced him, Papa, he had been a murderer.
Okay, okay, okay.
He just turned into saint. So there have been people. So we must keep that ideal. Ideal may not materialize immediately or with me
No,
also.
I remember that movie, Saath Hindustani. I think it was of your time.
Yeah,
It's where or there's the person was placed with seven criminals,
yeah,
but by his trust and by his love, all those seven criminals turned to good people.
yeah. So
So
even small things we experience this thing happens.
yeah,
But more we can practice, of course, we cannot become ideal, but we are all
yeah,
evolving.
yes,
But we should keep that aim.
aim
Uh,
at least.
yes, and only that will help us.
Okay, okay. Yeah, that was a really nice discussion. If anybody has any questions or queries, otherwise we'll proceed with the closing of today's session because it's time now. And so, first of all, I would like to extend a heartfelt gratitude to Brother U.S. Pandeyji on behalf of Indian section, Young Indian Theosophists, and all the delegates present for sharing with us such a practical subject which we deal with in our day-to-day life. And thank you to all the delegates, sisters and brothers who joined this session. As you know, now we are having only one session per month of Young Indian Theosophist, that is on the fourth Sunday. But in case there are any changes, we'll keep you informed.
Yeah.
And now
Are you
for
having
the,
only one? Okay.
yes, sir.
Okay.
So now for the closing session, let us all come together in heart and mind and use our thought power and willpower for the welfare of all manifestation. Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkhavad Bhavet Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you all. Have a great week ahead. Happy Holi to all. Enjoy health, happiness, and harmony. See you next time. See you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.